with Denis Petrovcic and Makram Hani. Hi, Denis.
Hey, Makram.
How are you today?
Doing well. A bit tired, but doing well. We had a bit of a rough weekend, I would say. I can explain you a bit later on what was going on. But thankfully, we solved the issues that occurred, and yeah, I'm good now. Yeah, we announced
That's the
we
best
have a
thing
couple of
about it.
things we need to discuss today, right? Yeah.
100%. Guys, that's the best thing about it. I feel nothing of this. It's amazing on my end. Perfect. Okay. I've just heard about it in the meeting and I said, okay, it's not something I understand. That's the beauty of, I don't understand it. We had a rough weekend, but let's start with the positive stuff. And then we reached the rough weekend, which thankfully ended up well. The team have put great effort to get the right result. Now, look, guys, we pass weeks are passing. um, our team is developing, is working hard on getting onto that roadmap, that timeline, that bet on the future, um, more so every day, and our team is growing as well, working hard on every bit, much more dynamic approach, again, and things are happening. However, globally, things are happening as well, and we take choices every week, every day. And I was chatting with Dennis some time ago, and we were talking about the results and the choices you take. And was reading a book. I'm bad at names, so I missed the name now. But it says that, and it's an investment book. Um, it says that reaching a right result or a wrong result does not define the decision, or does not always resemble the decision you've taken. Sometimes you reach a right result and you've taken a wrong decision, and sometimes you reach a wrong result and you've taken a right decision. Today, when you took the choice to join our community, and when you've taken the choice to be part of that energy, you are actually not choosing a side over another. When you're choosing an industry that is evolving, that choice can only lead to a certain direction. Now, obviously, within this evolution, revolution, there's companies that will make it great, there's companies that will make it okay, and there are companies that may not make it, unfortunately. Yet, if you choose tokenization, because that's a discussion that daily happens either between people or between people and themselves. If you choose tokenization, you're choosing the future of real estate. You are few tens of years ago choosing private companies, 100% owned, to companies floating on a stock market. This is what you're choosing. And today, people do not know the days before that. It's similar to you choosing the world with an email or without an email. Do you imagine yourself without an email today? What about you, Dennis? Can you?
I would say no, but I would add to it mobile phone, for instance, as
Exactly.
well.
And this is the second evolution which happened now. And then there's a third. But technology in general is the base of the evolution. And Blocksquare is about technology. It's not the phone, it's the infrastructure, it's the way of doing things. It's not the stock market. If you are currently trading on the S&P, and then maybe the S&P goes rough, then another stock market booms, you would have done a choice which is either or. But if you are trading the stock market and you're betting on the idea of companies turning public and selling shares, how can you go wrong? I don't see it. And this is exactly when you bet on tokenization of real estate. And when it happens, and it happened, and it's when it starts happening, there's no way back. Because when people start owning real estate in a much more efficient and effective way, when they start using a smartphone, going back to a non so smartphone is not an easy choice. You can still do it. but it's not an easy choice. Here, last week, we've done too many good things. We'll start with the good things, and then we'll talk to you about the tough, rough weekend we had. What's the good thing and the timeline that we've published yesterday, Dennis?
Well, let me before talking about it, but you mentioned betting on the stock market, right? I think that kind of thought is interesting, and one thing that I remember when we started working on Blocksquare, when we started thinking about tokenization, which was not named tokenization at the time. There was no terms that we could use, and then slowly they started to be coined. One of the benefits that was mentioned when I pitched tokenization of real estate was access, and this access, after repeating it so many times, it just became like something not so important. However, when we mentioned email, when we mentioned the mobile phone, when we mentioned internet, all of those have the same thing in common: access. Access is the red thread throughout technology, is access to information, access to communication, access to opportunities. And
we take it for granted.
And we start taking it for granted, so that when the new technology comes and gives you access to something else, we disregard it. But after a while, when you look at this, been looking at this technology or technological solution or business method, or however you want to call it, it differs obviously, you come back to access, and you understand that access is key. That's actually the main feature that's going to bring something new to the market, or why it is going to revolutionize the market. And here 100%. With tokenization, I'm really starting to see again access as being the key thing.
Do you feel that we take it for granted now, but probably the word doesn't. We take it for granted because we live it daily.
Yes, exactly. If you would go to a crowded place somewhere in the world and you would ask 1,000 people, do you have access to own real estate? Most of them would say no. Most of them. But we take it for granted because we are leaving this tokenization thing for several years. And we also happen to have, most of us in the team, not all of us, but some of us in the team, we do have access to real estate as an investment. Because we've created.
So we really take it for granted. You're right.
We are taking it for granted, but it's not. Most people in the world don't have access to tokenized real estate. And most real estate owners don't have access to a liquid market. So both are getting access through tokenization. And I'm not just talking about the owners of real estate, but also those who are helping finance real estate. Real estate is being financed mostly by banks. And banks, when there's changes in supply and demand, banks start closing, mortgages or loans start defaulting, right? And what happens is the bank pushes that asset to the market. So in a situation where there's more or less demand to supply on the market and prices start dropping, the collateral of debt starts dropping in value, which happens, and then there's a loop that starts happening. And I think we mentioned it in a couple of blog chats, but if those assets are tokenized, the most who will benefit from it are the banks, because they will be able to secure the collateral's position by selling off equity that otherwise is in the hands of the owner and totally liquid. So they need to sell the whole asset or nothing. It's binary. Either we sell it off or nothing. Either we do it, auction it now, or we do it later when prices will drop too far and will have a big portfolio of non-performing loans. So we
which
need
they
to
can't afford to have, and they regulatory wise, they're not supposed to have most of the time.
exactly. So clearing of the books bad debt is a practice in banks, and they need to do it because that's the role of banks, is not to be owners of real estate in the end, right? So
Yeah.
tokenization is a way how this process, it won't be solved. It won't solve the process, but it's a road to a solution where the asset can be adjusted. The capital stack can be adjusted in a way so that the owner can maintain or service the debt even in situation when there's a downturn, because it's providing access to that asset to those who don't have access to it otherwise, meaning not just from a wealth perspective, but also from a geographic perspective. You would never probably put money into buying an apartment in San Francisco, even though you might want to invest in San Francisco housing market.
It's exactly the same how the stock markets are putting companies in shares and doing an IPO is not the solution, but it's the thread that many solutions plug onto and plug in. Few years ago, we gave access to some privileged individuals, and we're privileged to have them, to the first tokenized asset that, as you describe it, Dennis, has been sold publicly to people from different countries, 5 continents. What happened with that last week? Because something interesting happened. What happened? What have we done to the tokenization, or the tokens of the first parking space tokenized by us a few years ago?
So we haven't done anything yet, right? So, and nothing bad is going to happen. Actually, the owners, the holders of that parking space, they will have, and we're repeating this. Why? Because I'm emphasizing here that all the holders of the parking space reach out to us, create a ticket on Discord, reach out to us through Telegram, send an email to support@blocksquare.io, whatever kind of communication. Just reach out to us, right? And we will inform you how the process is, what's going to happen. But basically, the tokens of that parking space, they will be upgraded in a way. So you will have now the tokens, the value of that real estate asset is going to be represented on the mainnet system of Blocksquare, where already over 50 million of real estate assets have been tokenized. And we will make these holders the first to be able to experience version 0.4 of Oceanpoint. And they're going to be the first to be able to test it out in the mainnet environment. They're going to be able to stake their real estate tokens and be rewarded for it. So be the first who will be receiving rewards from that pool. There's one thing that these initial users, will need to do. They will need to register their account, a new account, if they haven't done so yet, on Oceanpoint's marketplace, and go through the KYC process, and then register under their account the same wallet where they are holding tokens. And once they do this, they are eligible to receive the new token, the new tokens. It doesn't need to be now. They can take time to do it, obviously, but the faster they do it, or the sooner they do it, the sooner they will have access to the ability of staking, which might be a very lucrative initially in terms of how
As
much.
it was for them, yeah, most of those holders were earning very handsomely, because at times when the earnings from the parking space were paid in BST, and then the dynamic was very lucrative for them. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, 'cause
probably they have another opportunity.
that parking space is doing like $100 per month. It's not like it's a good ROI, but the value is so small that it's but that those $100 were buying BST from a decentralized exchange that was before Uniswap times, and it was called IDEX, the exchange. That was the only way where BST was it was possible to trade it, and those $100 were buying at times when the markets were down, like 8,000 BST per month,
which are worth,
so
just guys, for to give you an idea, at $0.5, those are worth $3,500 today. Yeah. So this $100 was, and then what's happening with that BST? That's the interesting thing. So after buying the 7,000 BST, what's happening with the BST at that time?
well, it's distributed to the holders of
And then what are they doing with that
property.
BST after getting it?
Some
Mostly.
of them bought more parking space with it. Some of them were trading it for ETH. Some of them were converted
We're
into
staking
DAI.
it.
And then, well, the staking came along long after this happened, right? So some of them were just keeping that BST. And then when staking happened with Oceanpoint's version 01, they jumped into the governance pool. And with that BST at the time, it was like huge earnings the first month, the first 3 months. There was 1 million BST being dropped in, and there was, well, not a handful, but more, obviously, of stakers. But it was definitely not as competitive as it is today. And if we continue, and I'm sure we'll continue building up Blocksquare, the ecosystem, Oceanpoint, etc., the competitor or the competitiveness is just going to grow over time. You're going to have more people participating in various pools on Oceanpoint, competing for the rewards that are planned to be distributed until 2028. And I'm talking about real estate asset owners tokenizing for the purpose of staking in the VO2 pool, community members buying BSPTs of various properties and staking them in the upcoming VO4 pool. And the more properties that we as an ecosystem bring from owners to tokens, from tokens to the community wallets, the wallets of the community, people buying those tokens. So putting them into circulation and then subsequently potentially staking them in VO4, the more value we bring to Blocksquare as a DAO, and the governance board, has then the discretion of choosing what happens with those revenues. And we've made a decision that those revenues are going to be used to buy back BST and burn it, decreasing the supply of BST over time. And I think this is kind of adding a new dynamic to supply versus demand, and the perception of future supply on the market, the perception of where this can go. And I think it's good. We're gonna enter into an interesting
By the
quarter.
way, guys, this is a decision that's not burnt in stone. Yeah, tomorrow morning the board can decide to invest in buying new real estate with that money. They can decide to purchase companies that are struggling. Decide to. I'm not saying that it will happen. I'm just saying that this is one of myriad of options. This is what the governance board saw best today for the ecosystem. However, tomorrow morning, they may see that, you know what, why don't we create that cumulative impact by buying new real estate that will start earning more. And that's the best you can do, because we always say, if you have a business that is earning you, the best business you could be in at that moment of time is a business that you can reinvest in and create the same ratio of earning, because then you can create that cumulative return. If you are not able to deploy that money that you get, and you really need to get it out of the business or send it out of the business, actually that's undermining the ability of yours to have that kind of cumulative growth. So that's possible. What about version 04? What's the timeline like, Dennis? When are we expected to have it running?
All right. So we've published a blog post where we detail all the process. But essentially, it goes more or less like this. After so on Monday, we have planned to deploy the smart contracts on Ethereum mainnet. Once that is done, our dev team is going to change the code required to connect the UI to those contract addresses. And what we're going to do is we're going to test it internally on mainnet. If everything works fine, then the following day, on Tuesday, I think it's the 16th, Tuesday the 16th. It's when we are going to invite the holders of the parking space, the token
Tuesday
holders
the
of the parking
16th, you're
space,
right. Yeah.
to join a whitelisting channel on our Discord, where all communications will happen between our team and them, so they will be able to test it out, to test out the depositing, to test out withdrawing, to test out receiving rewards. And after this initial test is done and finished, we're gonna have then the next phase where we open up version 04 for everybody. So accessing and basically following it. However, at the time, we might not have yet any other BSPT tokens offered for people to purchase. But that's yet to see. So maybe yes, or maybe not. But essentially, after the 22nd, we should offer some properties so that people are able to purchase. And the purchasing of BSPT will happen on the secondary market. So there's not going to be any offerings on Oceanpoint's marketplace, but simply sell orders that owners might of eligible properties might put there based on pricing that they expect, and community members can buy if they see good offers for them to purchase. And that's
Perfect.
it. Yeah.
What have we lived over the weekend? Because it's related. So, what have you lived over the weekend?
Well, the weekend was a bit. Well, it was not rough. It's okay. We dealt with everything just fine. So there's one of the marketplace operators that runs on our tech. They opened up, let's say, to a wider audience. So they opened up their marketplace to a larger amount of users. And what happened is some of those users started experiencing some issues through the KYC process. So there was an error that happened. Mainly was that a link has expired. And basically it was a setting that we were not aware of on the side of our KYC provider, ZineSec, which is, by the way, an amazing support. They quickly answered to us. We were in contact throughout the weekend, and everything fine, and we were able then to resolve things with our team as well, adjusting certain things, and their team then adjusting as well, prolonging the expiry time, and us changing a bit how we store links in the back, just to make sure that every time you initiate the KYC process, that a new session is generated and you don't resume the previous one, because that was basically the issue, was that people were resuming the previous session. However, it expired, and their API didn't tell our backend that the link has expired. But all in all, this created like some backlog on our support, and yeah, our team was
And it's
busy,
sorted.
but it's now sorted. So I think we solved it well. There were some people who were dissatisfied, but not many. I would say maybe one or two accounts. Most were actually very supportive and understanding that these things might happen. In our defense, we didn't know that there's going to be a larger influx of users on Friday. And if
So it's
there's
good.
a
It's good.
marketplace, if a marketplace operator would, if they would tell us, look, guys, we want to open up, when do you and consult with us, I would always say, look, it's a new marketplace. Things are working, but they might also there might be something that is not. So I would suggest doing it on Monday or Tuesday. So going live on Fridays, or it's usually, well, there's a weekend,
Guys,
right, for some people.
to all our marketplace operators, please, only Fridays.
Yeah, I'll put Makram on support.
My man, if you put me on support, you will still be here trying to fix the matter today, because I'm sure it would have gone worse. So at least everyone who wasn't satisfied, guys, probably one, two, or plenty, we really appreciate you. We really appreciate your attempt to try to be KYC'd on our system. Whenever we fail to get things running properly on time, we put all our effort to try and fix it. Our team stays up on a weekend and gets sleepy on, on weekdays after that, but we still do that. However, if you're dissatisfied, it's our problem and we need to fix it for you. So if you're dissatisfied with what the experience you lived over the past few days, feel free to get in touch with us. And I promise you, I will attend personally to each of the members who were dissatisfied, and then we'll see if we can get them satisfied and before the next block chat. So if you are dissatisfied, get in touch with us and we'll make sure to help you, because we're here to make sure that things run well. And that doesn't mean that nothing will go wrong. That means when it goes wrong, we make it go right. So that's the whole purpose of us being there.
Yeah, I think people need reliable partners, right? And it's not about things not going wrong. Things always go wrong and can go wrong. It doesn't mean that always go wrong, but always there's chances that something might happen that wasn't predicted. And the importance is you have a team on the other side that will take care of it, right? And I think we've proven that we've taken care of this this time, and I think we've done our job. And congrats to the whole team working on this for the past. Well, not now; it's already solved for a couple of days, but throughout the weekend. So kudos to everybody, also on the dev team, not just the support. So yeah.
So today, go ahead, Dennis. Sorry, you want to say something?
No. That's all I wanted to say. Yeah, actually.
So today there's version 04 coming. Tune in so that you track the progress. There is people who have staked, so they have tokenized their property, they staked their property, and post tokenizing and staking, they went into a 6 month period where those tokens were locked, and now they wanted to claim the rewards by unstaking. So to unstake, you need to go to the app.oceanpoint. Very simple process. You go to the asset pool and you have a process of unstaking that you can go there after you connect your wallet. While you're unstaking, you need to upload your updated or current dated proof of ownership so that we are sure that you still own the property at this time, to make it fair to everyone within the ecosystem, within the environment. If you don't own the property anymore, those tokens will be burnt, and so that it is fair again to everyone who've staked. And if you still own it, you will prove your ownership, and then you will get your rewards. Your rewards obviously go into a vesting period and are released periodically. Now, what you can do after that is you can claim those rewards. Now, when you claim those rewards, correct me if I'm wrong, Dennis, here, you are claiming the rewards that are released from that vesting contract, isn't it? So
Yeah.
you're
So
claiming.
so let's say you've earned 24,000 BST, and it's a 24 months vesting period. 2 months pass, and it's the first time you claim. You have 2,000 tokens that are unlockable or claimable, and you click claim. You interact with the contract, and it gets onto your wallet. So now you have 22,000 BST left for 22 months.
Further claiming.
And you go ahead, and after 1 month, you claim again. Now you can claim 1,000. If you would claim after 14 days, so let's say you would be able to unlock around 500. If the amount being vested is 24,000, and I put 24,000 just because of
Ease of
simplicity.
calculation. So after
Exactly.
you do that, you get your BST. What can you do? Governance pool, you can stake it there. You
Yes.
can go onto the liquidity pool, match it with ETH, and stake in the liquidity pool, which gives you currently a higher APY, obviously, because there's less competition there. In the governance pool, there are masters of the governance pool, community members who have hundreds of thousands of BST there, and they have been staking for a very long time. And obviously, some of them have been accumulating those rewards and restaking the rewards, isn't it, Dennis? And
Yeah, but with the governance pool is very safe, very easy type of staking. It's a one single-sided staking, so there's nothing that can actually happen to your deposit. So you deposit 100,000 or 1,000 BST into it. You have currently around 12% APY. So on a yearly basis, you would earn what, 120 BST, right? By
cool.
keeping it deposited 1,000, right? Which is I think a good return, but which is calculated BST to BST. So it doesn't involve looking on dollar value of BST. It doesn't care about how much BST is worth. It just looks at the fact BST deposited versus BST earned, and it's auto compounding. So if you deposit 1,000, each day you get a higher principal. So your principal constantly grows. So you get 12% on on accumulated value of BST.
And something important here, guys, is that with version 04, obviously, they will be able to put your property tokens on steroids, hopefully, very soon. But something very important here, when you are claiming your rewards and staking in the when you're staking in the governance pool,
Cool.
the
Yeah.
important part is that you have this is meant to give you a say in the DAO, and this is meant to give you benefit of the whole ecosystem. So there's greater good in your mind. So if you want a good plan here, if you're claiming 1,000 BST of rewards every month, how about matching it by buying 1,000 BSTs, and those are 2,000, throw it into the governance pool, sorry, and then you'll earn and have a say. So why not? Dennis, do you have
And at the
anything?
same time, you mentioned a say in the DAO, right? And then you also the governance board, right? So some people are maybe not familiar of our kind of transition to decentralized governance, and we can take maybe or I think we did
We did it.
an
Yes, we
episode
did.
on this before, but just to mention is right now, for instance, there's 6 members in the DAO's governance board, and with 2 members being from the community. And we're going to be adding more members from the community soon after version 04. Why? Because we want to get a more democracy, let's say, or higher, more say to those who are present also in the community, and give more value to staked BST as such. And as BST will be in a way a way to participate or to candidate for those community seats, because obviously the more exposure you have to the whole protocol, the higher the interest to safeguard it through your decision making process. So we
100%. So
invite everybody.
who can have a better agenda to everyone's benefit than
Exactly.
who holds most in upside and downside in it? Yeah.
Exactly. So this is something to for those who watch us, or to consider that filling and joining the governance board in the future, and hopefully we'll be able to add a member or two soon after launching successfully launching version 04. Yeah.
Whoever haven't subscribed yet to uh, our channel, please subscribe to our channel, comment to us downstairs. Yeah, downstairs. So in the comments below. However, whoever haven't subscribed to our ecosystem, if you have property and you don't want to lose any part of it, learn that you can today tokenize it. It will cost you nothing. Stake those tokens and earn while you keep and retain all your earnings on the property. You're not letting go any value, any ownership. You're just gaining more value. Subscribing to the future and testing it. And um, we advise you to try that. If you find any difficulties doing it, although it's pretty easy, get in touch with us, and our team will definitely assist you with the process. Dennis, is there anything else you would like to add today to our community and beyond?
No, I think we've covered quite a bit in today's call. I mean, today's episode. What I would like to add, yes, support us on all our channels throughout this launch. I think it's important to get the community together. And I know, we've been doing this, and we get a lot of attention as well on Twitter. And by the way, Twitter, tomorrow, there's an interesting Twitter space being organized at 6 p.m. Central European time. So I believe that's like 5 o'clock UTC. And I'm going to be part of a panel discussion with other founders of other companies in the space of tokenization and real world assets. So I think it's going to be an interesting discussion. I honestly, I haven't met most of the people, but I know them from obviously from the project that they work on. So I'm really excited to be part of that Twitter space. Yeah.
Perfect. Dennis will be crushing it tomorrow on Twitter. The team will be crushing it in the background, doing what needs to be done. Again, so excited about what's happening. The best thing to us today is to have people being served, some happy, some not, because that means people are being served. And when we change the unhappy to happy, that means that we are not only serving people, but serving them right. Our community is growing. Tokenization is the future. That doesn't mean that undermining conventional real estate. Not really. It's a layer built to make sure that real estate is accessible And today I'll stop with accessible because, yes, I do take sometimes accessible for granted. And when I started that thought for myself, I said, I want my father for $100,000 to be able to buy interest in 10 properties in 10 countries rather than squeeze it all into a 2-bedroom apartment somewhere with a mortgage attached to it. Um, so accessible, and hopefully you'll have a very accessible, fun evening or day. And on we go. Thank you. Until the next block chat, Denis Petrovcic and Makram.